Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor Nandini Saha from the Department of English, Jadavpur University. We are going to talk about reading new literatures in English, the paper name, and the module is Myth, History and New Popular Fictions. The author of the module is Shomita Das from the Central University of Hyderabad. The learning objectives of this module is to essentially see how myth and history are being, what is myth and history, what are the connections between myth and history, and how is myth and history being retold and recreated in new forms of popular fiction in modern times. This module delves into the theoretical insights while focusing on the historicization or creation of the discourse and the medium. The intermediality and interliterariness employs the correlations between the different media results into new comparative approaches to a refined literature. A picture of an imagined past will be recreated and considered to be an ideal one. The module will try to investigate the popular notions of Hindu myths through textual and visual analysis. This work focuses on the modes of traditional culture and its connection to popular discourse. Myths are employed with a particular narrative structure. This pattern often accommodates them into the socio-cultural transformations, and this has been mentioned by Kroeber. There are characters who hold a personality and fights back to destroy the evil. So there's always this kind of conflict between the good and the evil, where the good will always destroy the evil and it is the hero who's the good who will eventually destroy the evil. In the retellings, these mythological characters are presented as real heroes who invent their own weapons and guard the society from the clutches of the evil. Shiva with his Trishul in the Shiva Trilogy reminds us of the Lord Shiva's wrath and anger. These portray the ideological legitimization of Indian theology. These retellings bear the signs of that particular age which is being spoken about in these myths. The scope of the study of this module is that the purpose of this doubling process questions the popular myths which are deeply indebted to Indian culture. According to a 2002 census, Hinduism is a major religion in India. In relation to the structural composition of the Indian society, Hinduism can be termed as the most influential religion in the country. Religion and culture are interrelated. Key components of culture are values, norms, institutions, and artifacts, which often derive from religious beliefs and practices. Myths or folk tales talk about traditions practiced by small homogeneous groups, localized lifestyle and its history, depicting a certain aspect of a particular society. So it's more limited. Its scope is much more smaller than the larger aspects related to religion. Conflict may arise when it encounters other heterogeneous institutions. In these days, media plays a crucial role in the dissemination of culture and therefore offers another area of articulation through which religious practices and myths and folktales can be popularized. Media is invariably connected to and is associated with popular culture, certainly shaping, transforming new ideas into preferred and celebrated renditions. When literature is adapted into visual translation, myth is revived with much more appeal from the audience because the visual aspect automatically adds a very appealing kind of an effect on the audience. Relevance of this study is that when the ancient is interpolated into modern life, it is necessarily reworked and is deepened with various interpretations. Modern life is founded upon science and freedom. A myth may grip us with its imagery. Science and technology relentlessly reproduce the ancient in a medium of thought-provoking ideals. individual perception is experimented in retelling the tales of antiquity. The relevance of this study is that modern productions are rendered through visual culture. As Derrida said, that there is nothing outside the text, so any cultural product can be a text for study and analysis. When retold and recreated through print and media, the Hindu myths are not contested but receive prominence and receptive attention. It goes out to a larger audience. People who are not so used to reading are more comfortable watching it in films or on television. So it reaches a larger audience, the scope of the audience increases. The various theories regarding myths in popular culture spread through mass media, print media and television industry, which create a bestseller or a superhit. When culture is crafted as expression of religion, belief and philosophy, there is an urge to study the historiography and politics of different kinds of language which are at play. Myths are ideas or present concepts of a thought process. These principles or concepts have been written down to structure reality. Devdutt Pattanaik refers to this discourse where human beings are meant to abide by certain rules and regulations. The folktales, Vedas and the Puranas are constraints which tie the knots of fractured reality. Institutions are created to rule the lives of its inhabitants. Hinduism as a religion is vast and complex. Indian myths describe the intervention of 33 crores of gods and goddesses in human affairs and situates these entities with different capabilities. D.D. Kosambi writes about myth and reality in his book Myth and Reality, Studies in the Formation of Indian Culture, published in 1962, and sketches the process of development of a society as composed and structured in clusters. Sheldon Pollock writes about the rise and fall of the Sanskrit language as a vehicle of poetry and polity, and how Sanskrit as the sacred language of the Aryans became the medium of sacred social and political expression. Pollock explores the shifting processes of exchange within cultures. The change is brought into and shapes various kinds of discourse. Remembering the past. Roots of Indian pasts in the plural continue to inspire reinterpretations and reviews. Dadasaheb Phalke made the first motion picture, Raja Harishchandra, in 1913, the first silent film, and mythology was chosen to present social issues because, as I said, that is the one thing that still, even till date, is able to capture the Indian audience. Mythological stories always are a very powerful way of attracting the Indian audience. Again, in this century, same ideas are used, but there is hardly any difference other than obvious technological advancements. Until the 1980s, media relied heavily upon print and analog broadcast models, such as those of television and radio. A shift is seen in the later years. Thus, when the best-selling author and chief visionary of Virgin Comics, Deepak Chopra, discusses the Ramayana, reloaded as the classic story of mythical themes, it is well received by the readers. It features a reimagining of the historical classic in a post-apocalyptic future. In the 1990s, B.R. Chopra's Mahabharata serial on Doordarshan had a mass appeal. When Star Plus relaunched Mahabharata in 2013, the show also all over again created a subgenric appeal. The paradigm shift is seen when Facebook is also participated in this popular discourse. There is a dialogic Ramayana on Facebook where the social issues are treated sarcastically. It is titled as "What if Facebook existed during the Ramayana?" And there is a link if you want to go there, which is www.buzzfeed.com, Satpath, What if Facebook existed during the Ramayana. Devdutt Pattanayak's retelling of the Mahabharata as Jaya, which was published in 2010, gives a more detailed account of the Vedic times. His use of artworks makes it more interesting and easy to read. Amish Tripathi wrote the Shiva Trilogy, drawing upon the Vedas, Puranas, and situated God as someone who's the ultimate hero, but not more than human. When Shiva's tale is revisited in the Life OK serial on television, Devon Ka Dev Mahadev, choice of sets, props remind us of Bharata's Natya Shastra, where a world is created with so many implications. Mythologist Devdutt Pattanayak uses these mythologies in business management in his popular TV series and book called Business Sutra. He gives a simple example of rangoli making, how different rangolis suggest distinguished patterns and different business tactics of management, how the immersion of idols suggests an ongoing process, that nothing is permanent. Epic receives a new meaning and dimension through such retellings, which involves many possibilities to discover a newer world, a newer future. There are other retellings, villains or victors. Anand Nilakanthan in Ajaya, Epic of the Kaurava clan, which was published in 2013, sidelined Pandavas and focused on the Kauravas. Even when he wrote Asura, the tale of Vanquished in 2012, he talked about the hierarchy that existed between the Devas and the Asuras and how it affected the castaways' life. The castaways played an important role in the early history of India. These were the exotic, non-human tribes of India. The subhuman or the superhuman creatures can also be considered as demigods. Nagas, Gandharvas, Rakshasas, Kinnaras and Yakshas are important prodigies in epics like the Mahabharata. The reworkings are of archetypal relevance, and contemporizing is a cosmopolitan approach towards its emergence and popularity. Modernity lies in the reworking of the folk tales, where villains are victors. Every character justifies the cause of its revolt. Ravana has his reasons to violate the rules of wisdom. There are also stage adaptations and animated films like Sita Sings the Blues, which is written, directed, produced by American artist Nina Paley in 2008. The technological advancement secures the stories into derived formulations. The most recent example is of a television channel called Epic. This channel attempts to create a modern rendition where epic is not about literature but an appeal for cinematic representation, artifacts and television series. It is also the encompassment of marketing and production ventures. History goes back to its literary meaning, where it is simply a story which creates a mark of its own. What are the challenges? Supposingly, the challenges faced are the controversies, debates and arguments about the notion of myth. The characterization and featuring them with some new ideals in the modern world may have been difficult, but when nurtured with dedication, the goal is achieved. Reader response theory, when applied to this mode, as a response is seen through the virtual medium of Facebook and Twitter. The retelling of history sensitized the understanding of the gender equality when Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni wrote her Palace of Illusions in 2008, where Draupadi is the narrator of the story. So it will be a very different kind of a story when told from a woman's perspective. It is a challenge to fix the ideals of epic and creating a simulation to understand the discourse. The discourse is of modernity for making every aspect of the country nourish its reinstability in every age. Even in the animated movies with the technological culmination, characters like Chota Bheem and Bal Hanuman are created. The comics, when translated into the visual culture, they become cartoon characters. These not only appear on TV, but the series are also uploaded in 2D and 3D form on YouTube and other sites. Their targeted audiences are the kids, the children. The stranglehold of popular culture creates a method of receptorship. The religious notions, when remodeled into the popular discourse, the marketing techniques become very important. In conclusion, it is but natural that there should be differences in understanding and interpretations, but often the representation of myths in the modern reworkings reflect the age conflicts. The study of the Indian myths is inevitably the study of Indian culture. Myths are the stories buried under the mounds of historical debates. The construction of myths goes back to the pre-Aryan invasion. Myths are not only stories, they also refer to the contradictions between past and present. The work aimed to look at the politics of myth-making in India and the process which goes into its reception. The framework shows the historical significance of Hindu myths and how they are revisited in the contemporary world. When Hindu myths are relocated in the modern world, these are often connected with and reflect social change. The political groups try to capture these myths and use them accordingly. The Ram temple at Ayodhya and the concept of Ram Rajya are the examples of how socio-cultural aspects refer to the politicization of the epic tales. The race, language and history of the primitive age are discussed by historians like Romila Thapar, who maintain that ancient India was projected as a virtual utopia, a place where myths portray the essentials of a religion observed a crossover kind of religion, a mix of Hinduism, Islam and other formal religions. The present study in this module has been placed in the larger context. The modern myths and the reworkings are judged according to their function in the society. A certain section of audiences are targeted, especially in the Hindu middle class ideology, and its hold on tradition is reflected in the approach to Indian myths and history. Myths are often used to privilege certain sections of a particular class. In both the Mahabharata and the Shiva Trilogy, the class division is vividly portrayed. The argument questions the characterization. These retellings also write about the outcasts. For example, in The Secret of the Nagas, Amish Tripathi attempted to show the position of Nagas in Hindu mythology, whereas in Jaya, Devdatta Pattanayak begins his book with the snake sacrifice. The question of hierarchy is well posed in these retellings. The television stars create a superhero notion. It's an aura that they create through their television personalities. Friedrich Nietzsche, German philosopher, once introduced a concept of Übermensch. The meaning has been translated as overman, overhuman, and more commonly the Superman. This concept has been attributed to the powers of superiority, someone who can rule the world. This idea, if employed to the heroes of our mythology, they certainly hold a strong position in the society. The principles and constitution of ideals invites the modern mythmakers to show the world of characters who are powerful and inspirational. The process mediation transformed the meaning of myth into a larger-than-life enterprise. Now we will be looking at some pictures, the visual and virtual depiction of these retellings. The cover page of the Shiva Trilogy looks like a graphic narrative, and where the face of the character, the facial features of the character are not important, but the superhero, the notion of the superhero, the superhuman character of Shiva. But he is a human character. However, he is portrayed, the bodily physical attributes are portrayed as this very superhuman-like, superhero-like character. Then we will see the picture of Princess of the Sun dynasty. This is a screenshot of the Princess Sati from the YouTube trailer of the book, The Shiva Trilogy, YouTube plays an important role in the dissemination of the text. Also, the way in which it portrays that what the text is about is also important. So it is not only, a trailer not only gives you a hint about the coming out of the book, the release of the book, but also about what the content of the book is. YouTube videos of Krishna's preachings are uploaded to popularize the serial Mahabharata on Star Plus. Modernity is noticed in its presentation and marketing strategies when logos of Facebook and Twitter is seen in the poster, and you'll see two posters of. What is also interesting, that along with where else you can follow these preachings and teachings of the Mahabharata, is the face of these stars who played the character of Krishna in the Mahabharata serial on television. That is again another marketing strategy to attract the audience. An urge of freedom and liberation is seen from patriarchy and chauvinistic mindset in the posters of Sita Sings in the Blues. There are these two pictures, and in one you have Sita, Ram and Ravana, and the depiction itself is a very polarized kind of depiction which shows what is good and what is evil. It's there in the picture itself. A look at the picture and it tells you who's good, who's bad. And a more modernized kind of a depiction of the Sita episode is there in the second one. Calendar art is a popular genre where mythology is seen as a propaganda. Gods in the Bazaar by Kajri Jain is a book on this popular trend of how religious figures, mythological figures, folk figures are all used as pictures in calendars, and calendar is something that is used in every Indian household, and these are ways of propagating the mythological values that are essentially given in the myths and in the religious texts to uphold certain Indian cultural values. That is propagated through this kind of calendar art. Spiritual wall stickers available on various of these internet online shopping sites. One of them could be pepperfry.com, where you have the facial features of a Durga or a Kali or the Ganesha, and these are all made popular. These are ways of dissemination of religious beliefs, of mythological beliefs. Hence, to sum up, the connection between myth, history and new popular fictions is essentially where these various retellings are an attempt to review history, mythological history, but also to propagate, to remind people of the religious and cultural values that have existed in the Indian civilization, and they believe might help to join or might help to bond the fractured reality that Indian civilization is going through at the moment. Thank you.